It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. We're just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get it and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football. Trevor Sikkema Mike Renner here with you on a Wednesday morning, which means it's mock draft time. We're talking mock drafts. We're talking draft season. So we're doing in the middle of the week, every week here on this show. I'm excited for this one, Mike. We are reviewing the one and only Todd McShay's first round mock draft of the season. We've put out our own. We've put out some rankings. We did put out some mock drafts, but it's always good to pick the brain of somebody who's very plugged in the industry, and Todd McShay definitely is that. So I'm excited for this one.
I was going to say, there's nothing I love more than providing commentary on other media because it's so easy. I don't have to do the work. Todd did the work. I just have to give my opinion on it. How great? How great is that?
That's true. It's true, you know. But look, to be fair, we put in the work to at least know the prospects enough to talk about it. Yeah. But
I don't have to write 3,000 words.
I do. You don't have to write 3,000 words, which is nice. And I just really love keeping tabs with what other people in the industry believe. This is a really good time of the year for that. We've got our opinions on guys, but as the regular season has come to a close, it's almost like information gathering season as much as it is tape watching season. We get to figure out, hey, these guys, they're very plugged into the NFL. Who are they hearing that could be going into first rounds a little bit higher than we think?
That's the thing. We've watched all these guys who are in the first round conversation, top 50 to 100 guys. We've watched their tape already. We have opinions. It's not, you're not surprising me. You're not throwing a name out here that I haven't heard of, seen, watched. So it's not surprising. So I do have a pretty strong take, I'll say, at the moment in time now, obviously. That can change whether it's through Senior Bowl, through athletic testing, whatnot, as the process goes on. But obviously get a good early indication because we're not playing any more football, a lot of these guys. Vast majority of these guys are done.
Yeah. Basically, unless you are playing for the college football playoff, you're probably not even going to play in whatever bowl game it is. Like even some of the New Year's Six bowls or some of the biggest bowl games. It just feels like most prospects aren't going to play in the bowls. It's more advantageous for them to opt out, make sure that they're ready for whatever it is, the Senior Bowl, the Combine, the next time that they've got to show off their stuff. So draft season is a long process, and you definitely want to get ahead of it. So it's definitely a good point in the year to take a look at the tape as it stands today. No more games being played by a lot of these guys, but just understanding where their stock is. It's a full mock draft day here on this show, so we're going to spend most of the time reviewing who Todd McShay has in his first round mock draft over at ESPN.com. If you guys don't have a subscription, you should absolutely go and read that and sign up for one of those. But we're also, afterwards, going to give our take, 3 guys each that were not in Todd's first-round mock that we think could be first-rounders when it's all said and done. Guys that we like that didn't quite make the list. So we're going to be doing that as well. Time to get the production portal guys into the show. Sav's not here today. He's not taking the day off, but he's not here today. So we got Eli, we've got Quinn, and we've got Ethan sitting in Sav's chair. Actually, Quinn, you're sitting in Sav's chair. You're keeping it warm for him. How's the weather over there in that other seat?
It's great, man. There's a lot of people in the chat that said that they don't like me switching spots. Also, I do have to address something in the chat.
Yes.
The random player thing, we need to get more random. Like, I saw Navarro Bowman. I saw Todd Heap. Like, those guys aren't random. Like, those are Pro Bowl players.
That's true.
I would consider them, in their heyday, stars. So let's try to get a little more on the randomness side.
Yeah. Does Chris Hovan count? Can I say Chris Hovan?
Yeah, because I don't even know who that is.
Okay, all right.
Bucs legend. I used to hate Chris Hovan when he played the Packers.
Buccaneers legend, baby, Chris Hovan. So, all right, we got to get more random. Quinn's calling out the chat. We need to get more random.
I'm not calling him out.
Players.
I'm making a suggestion. It's not just the chat. I see it on Twitter a lot, too.
Sounds like he was calling him out. Sounds like he was calling him out. Quinn, do we have a question of the day to get us kicked off here?
Yeah, we sure do.
What do we got?
How many active NFL quarterbacks have at least one Super Bowl appearance? Maybe a couple of those guys are facing off this weekend.
All right. How many active quarterbacks have Super Bowl appearances?
All right. I need to start writing these down because we say them and then I always my mind wanders during the show because I don't. Patrick Mahomes. We'll go one. We'll go Tom Brady.
Wow, you put Mahomes above Brady?
Sorry.
You put Mahomes first?
Aaron Rodgers.
I'm so insulted.
We'll go Joe Flacco.
Okay.
Joe
Flacco is 4?
Jimmy G.
Himmy G, yep.
We have Joe Burrow.
Matthew Stafford.
That's last year. That's very recent. We have
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. There you go. That's a good one.
He's in fact active.
Nick Foles. Is he
yeah,
active? I believe.
He might not be active every game day, but he is on a roster.
Okay.
He's on an NFL roster.
Nick Foles. What else we got? I'm trying to think of recent Super Bowls.
At least one Super Bowl appearance.
So we are up to.
Might have said, I don't know,
up
6.
to 9.
I mean, that's actually a great way to go about this.
We're up to 9. So it's at least
6.
Gosh, there has to be a lot more that we're just.
You got Russ in there?
Russell Wilson. Did not have him. We now do.
Need to have him. Had to have him.
Who else we got?
Jets no, Bills no.
Well, Jets at Flacco.
No, I meant like making an
Super Bowl.
appearance.
Okay, gotcha.
Dolphins no. Rams no.
Goff.
Goff. Yeah. There we go. Jared Goff.
So
What are we at 11?
we were at 11.
I probably would have guessed. I probably would have guessed 11.
Okay.
Somewhere it would have been 10, 11, 12, and I probably would have split the difference.
There's
Probably would
got
have
to
said
be
11.
one more in there. There's got to be like one more that we're just blanking on.
Is there a tricky one? Like, is there a tough one?
No, I mean, no. Like all of these, the hint that I will give you guys is all of these dudes, like actually played in the Super Bowl, right? Like there's no
Carson
Josh
Wentz.
Johnsons, there's no Chase Daniels that like sat there and held a clipboard. Like these are all
Okay.
Cam
real
Newton not in the
quarterbacks,
league.
if that helps.
Yeah, Cam's not in the league.
Super Bowl appearer. Who else we got?
You can basically eliminate the AFC by just putting Brady and then knowing that Peyton retired and Ben Roethlisberger retired because it felt like it was just those 3 teams.
Yeah.
That's it for 20 straight years.
And then Mahomes took over and Mahomes kind of put the clamps. We got
11's a solid guess. I might guess 12 just in case we miss somebody, but I think 11's a solid guess. We got Foles on there. David, we got Jimmy G on there. Damon said Matt Ryan. I said Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
We got Matt Ryan in there.
We got Matt Ryan on there. We're at 11 with all of that.
Yep. This is a good one. We might actually have this one. The chat saying, do not forget about Jared Goff. We did. We got
Is
to.
there anyone else? Okay, I think 11.
I think
feel
that's
good.
it. I think we might have this one.
Yeah.
We might have this one
Fingers
on the
crossed.
dot. We'll get the final answer at the end of the show, but I think 11's actually a pretty solid guess. So we're going. I think we're going to end up going with 11. All right, let's get into the mock draft here. It's a Wednesday, which means we're focusing on the NFL draft, the 2023 NFL draft. We do a lot of mock drafts here on this show. Mike and I will come up with our own mock drafts. We do a lot of prospect rankings as well. But like we said at the top, it's always cool for us to look around the industry and see what other people are thinking as well, because that's the fun part about the draft. It's a big time conversation. Todd McShay, he's been a pillar of the draft industry for 2 decades now, and so anytime he puts out some content, it's got to be must read stuff. We're going to be taking his first round mock draft that he put out this week. We're going to be looking at the player and team connections that he has in the current NFL draft order. If you guys don't have an ESPN Plus subscription, go do that, read it. He puts a lot of great analysis into his picks as well. So we're just going to be reviewing the player team matchups. Make sure you guys sign up for that and go read all of his good insight as to why he put those players there as well. Mike, you ready for it?
Can I tell a quick Todd McShay story? It's just a small one, but it's a funny one. Funny-ish story.
Okay.
So
I'm a little nervous.
When Todd McShay was just coming up, maybe this is probably like 08, 09. He'd probably been at ESPN for maybe like 2-3 years. Wasn't Todd McShay
a little longer than that? But I hear where you're
so he was kind of just coming up.
Okay.
My brother was apparently down in Orlando out one night on like a Saturday night, and he's walking on one side of the street with his buddy, and on the other side of the street is a guy standing there, and it's Todd McShay. And Al says to his buddy, just out loud, "Hey, is that Todd McShay?" And he hears from across the street Todd say, "Hey, what's up, fellas?" Obviously looking for someone to be like, "Is that Todd?"
Did they go hang out with him?
And then they came over and he got a picture with Todd McShay.
Wow.
He said Todd was a great guy.
That's cool. All right,
I know.
all right.
That's exactly how I would be.
You made me
if
a
I was
little
in Todd
nervous. I didn't
McShay's.
know what kind of story you were going to tell, but that's actually cool. Look, if I was just coming up with tech, if somebody did that for me,
I do that now.
Right. If somebody across the street was like, "Is that Trevor Sikkema?" or as the chat says, "Is that Lever Lickema?" I'd be like, "Yo, what's up?" Yeah. I do the same thing, and I go hang out with them, and I go take a picture. I don't know. Maybe you could turn it into a night that you never forget. I don't know, just hanging out with Todd McShay. Who knows? But let's get into this. Let's get into this first round mock draft. The number 1 overall pick. Not really a surprise.
Pressing Alabama.
Yeah. It's Bryce Young of Alabama. We'll put it up in increments of 8 so you guys can see it, and then we will break all these things down. Eli's going to be monitoring the chat a lot for me. He's going to be in my ear. So let us know as you kind of see these things come across the board, as we have these conversations about some of these players. Let us know what picks you like, what picks you don't, different players that you think could go to different teams. We would love to have as many conversations as we can. That's the fun of mock drafts. So number 1, it's Bryce Young. Mike, are we getting any closer to either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter taking that number 1 spot? Or is this just the way it needs to be?
No, you're the Texans. That'd be insane. It'd just be insane. You got to go QB. It's just the way of the world. The position value is too much. It's too much.
2 is Jalen Carter. It's not Will Anderson.
Here we go.
Now, how do we feel about
Here's
that?
the buzz. It's starting.
This is the discussion.
It's starting because, fact of life, his tape is better this year. Jalen Carter's tape was better than Will Anderson's.
Fact of life. I like how you
said
that.
I mean, it is. You go flip on the tape. Jalen Carter, the last 5-6 games of the season after he came back from that early season, I believe it was an ankle injury that was kind of hampering him. He played through it a little bit, then took some time off and came back and was just a house on fire. And you're going to see it against this Ohio State offensive line in the playoff. Really cannot wait to see those matchups because Ohio State has some good prospects there in the middle and on the edge of their offensive line. But no one's blocked Jalen Carter the second half of the season. Just complete difference maker. He's going to be one of the better DT prospects in the last decade. And Will Anderson, great edge rusher prospect for sure. But it's just Jalen Carter's on a different level right now.
Yeah, it's just hard to ignore how dominant Jalen Carter's tape has been so far this season. I just went back and watched 4 games of Will front to back, start to finish, and he's a damn good prospect. He really is. But I haven't gotten to Carter yet, but I just, from the moments that I've seen of Carter that have stuck out for me, just watching live and a little bit of the tape that I've been able to catch throughout the season, he's got the higher moments.
Yeah.
And I think that there's going to be a good amount of teams that fall for that stuff. Not that Will hasn't had it in his career. He certainly has. There wasn't as much this year as there was last year. And Jalen Carter's now 2 years in a row where you looked at that Georgia defensive line last year. Future number 1 overall pick in Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, right? And everybody said that Jalen Carter was the best of them. Now you got the chance to pick him. Makes sense that he's going to go number 2 overall. Now, I'm curious what you think about the Seattle Seahawks spot at number 2. I was having this conversation on my podcast, NFL Stock Exchange, with Connor Rogers. Would that number 2 overall pick be something that the Seattle Seahawks would think about moving? Because they're not taking a quarterback. We know there's teams that are always going to be very desperate for quarterbacks, especially in the back end of that top 10. If you're Seattle, specifically, how much you nailed this draft class last year. Just absolutely from the beginning of it all the way through. You nailed it. Does that give you faith to say, hey, what if we move back a little bit, get some first-round assets next year, and also still have probably a top 10 pick and do our best with our scouting staff?
Obviously, I think that would be ideal, but I'm not sure you really want to get out of the range of Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. To me, they are in a tier by themselves of the non-quarterbacks in this draft class. After that, you're just putting a lot more uncertainty into what this guy's going to be in terms of the prospects that are after those guys, whether it's on the defensive line, offensive line, wherever. But so right now, as the draft order stands, they're number 2. Someone like Detroit at number 4 obviously could be QB needy. Colts at number 7, very much QB needy.
Right.
Carolina Panthers at number 9, all QB needy. I think there may be some jockeying between those 3 teams of who wants to make that play to go get that guy, because I definitely don't think, even as much as maybe people are poo-pooing on this QB class after Bryce Young, I don't think QB2 is making it to number 9 overall at Carolina Panthers.
No way.
It's just not going to happen.
No way. It's not going to happen. And even for as low as some people might be on Will Levis, it certainly seems like Levis's stock is at the point where we're at least getting 2 quarterbacks in the top 10, right? I mean, like, we're at least getting Will Levis and Bryce Young in the top 10. That's just the way that it feels right now. C.J. Stroud, we'll see whether C.J. Stroud ends up a top 10 pick overall, but that's why I just think that this order, specifically the way that it stands this week, it's like if the draft were to have this final order, you mentioned it, Indy, Atlanta, potentially, Carolina, Las Vegas, potentially. Like, those teams are all prime right there to maybe move up. So I wanted to see, I basically just wanted to kind of pick your brain there and think, is Seattle better suited to take one of Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, or do you like the temptation to move him down a little bit. But you're saying Jalen Carter, Will Anderson?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that also could look like, the 2020 draft, where if you go back to that one, you had Joe Burrow come off the board first, and people were saying, is someone going to trade up? Someone going to trade up for Herbert or Tua, whatever, 2 and 3. It kind of just came chalky then after that because Jeffrey Okudah was seen as such a good prospect, because Chase Young was seen as such a good prospect. Those teams were asking for the farm to move out of those picks.
Somebody in the chat, I can't remember who it was like, all right, number 1, okay, number 2, okay, number 3, okay, number 4, okay, number 5. Whoa. Bijan Robinson going number 5 overall. I'm not going to lie. This is the highest that I've seen Bijan Robinson go in a mock draft so far.
That's insane. Can I say that's Bijan Robinson going number 5 overall would be insane, and especially the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know it's one of those situations where kind of like the Cowboys when they drafted Zeke, where it's like, we have everything else kind of figured out. And they do. They have, this roster is the most complete roster in the NFL probably right now. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that the number 5 overall pick should be going towards running back. And especially, and I think Howie Roseman understands this, especially in this draft class, where Bijan Robinson is exceptional. But who's also exceptional? Blake Corum. He was also exceptional. Jahmyr Gibbs. Those guys could be on the board when you're picking in the second round. Or even if you want to use a pick on a running back, use your other first-round pick. You got one at the back end of the first round where a guy could be there if you're desperate to do so. I think you're just probably – it's a short-term move. When you have a top 5 pick, it should always be a long-term decision. Always.
Yeah. It's hard for me to look at Philadelphia's situation, especially for how this team built their current status, and think that they would spend the number 5 overall pick on a running back. I think this is more of a shout-out just for how talented Bijan Robinson is. And I certainly see the shout-out, and I agree. I mean, Bijan's fantastic. If you're looking for a running back, he's about as good as it gets, right? And so I think that this is just kind of a nod to Bijan Robinson's stock overall. But if you're the Eagles, I mean, you got to look at, I think, offensive line or defensive line. Like you have this luxury of a top 5 pick. Go for one of those positions that really matter. Like Lane Johnson's still playing fantastic, but he's still getting up there in age, right? Imagine if you got yourself Peter Skoronski as well, right? If Jason Kelce ends up retiring, maybe you move Landon Dickerson back to center. Okay, well, now you got Peter Skoronski to play at guard. Or whatever happens with Lane Johnson in a year or two as well, with him potentially retiring whenever he wants to hang it up. Like that to me is much more worth it. Or picking a pass rusher as well. That's just where my mind goes with Philadelphia's number 5 overall.
Yeah, I'm thinking D-line. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. We've talked about how impressive it is that Brandon Graham's playing so well at his age, but it's because it's an outlier. It's because it may not still last. I think that's where I'm addressing with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I end up in the top 5 picks. I'm just going D-line. I'm trying to figure out any way to make opposing quarterbacks' lives miserable.
Trevor Joseph, I like this comment in the chat. He said, Todd McShay looking at positional value like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. What about positional value? It doesn't matter what positional value is. He's just respected Bijan Robinson, so I like it there. Okay, let's move on from the top 8. Well, actually, I do want to hit on this. We got Will Levis in the top 6. He's going number 6 overall to the Atlanta Falcons there. Now, Falcons, I thought we're picking.
Yeah, he doesn't have the draft order based off of.
Monday Night Football. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah,
he finished it before Monday Night Football because that would have been the flip with the Arizona Cardinals. So he's got the Atlanta Falcons at number 6, and he has them taking Will Levis. How do you feel about that a year after Desmond Ridder was their selection in the 3rd round? You still like it?
Yeah, it was only because I didn't see last year's quarterback prospects as anything special. Sure. I do think that the Falcons are in a unique position because the rest of the South right now is in shambles. The Saints and the Bucs they're not going to be contenders. They're just not after this season. They are in such a bad way from a cap perspective. Obviously, both could be grasping at straws, the quarterback position after this year as well, to where they have a very easy path to control of this division for a while. Them and the Carolina Panthers. But I think it starts with locking down that quarterback position. Mm-hmm. And the Falcons are a roster that's flawed at a number of places, and especially on the defensive line, which is where kind of the strength of this class is. But you do have to nail quarterback.
Sure.
And so if I'm the Falcons and someone like Levis is there, it's not writing off Ridder's talent and saying he can't be the guy, but it's just saying we have a unique opportunity and we need to throw all the eggs in the quarterback basket to figure this out.
Yeah. People are saying in the chat, reminding me that the Eagles actually have Cam Jurgens as well, which I totally forgot about, which you're correct. So, I mean, even offensive line, I think that they're already stockpiled on offensive line. So if you're drafting Peter Skoronski, it's probably because you think Lane Johnson might be hanging it up soon, which he's playing fantastic still. So there's no reason to believe that's the case. But just wanted to amend that one there. All right, let's go next 8. Let's go, 9 through 16? That's how math works. So let's see what the 9 through 16 is. I'm not sure what the order is. It starts off with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking Paris Johnson Jr. This feels like it's an easy pairing, right? Steelers need offensive line pretty badly, and so starting off with that one definitely makes sense. I like Arizona going Brian Brzee.
Yes, let's applaud that one. Cooler heads prevail in Arizona.
But where I really want to start the conversation, and I want to hear from the chat as well, Carolina's at number 11 in this mock draft. Anthony Richardson, top 12 player. How do we feel, Mike?
The more I watch this tape, the more you see it, right? You see that
he's him.
Well, the numbers, the accuracy numbers aren't good, but I think it's more a product of just him being inconsistent and basically raw with his footwork and consistency in that regard. Like the arm on the move to targets is accurate. Like his best throws are kind of when he doesn't even have his feet set, when he is, kind of gliding to his left, gliding to his right, because he has such a golden arm. And he is such a weapon with his mobility that I'm taking a chance on an athlete. The way the NFL game is going, especially at the quarterback position in recent years, who are the guys that have won? It's the guys that just are athletes that, they could have been quarterbacks, or they could have been tight ends, or they could have played baseball, or they could have really done anything. And it's just getting those guys more reps. So maybe it's not a year one play. Maybe he's not going to start for you next season. But it's a swing of the bat that the dividends could pay off way more than the dividends could pay off for Michael Mayer, who's the 12th pick there. So I don't hate it.
Well, we're going to get to Michael Mayer in a second. Andrew says if Will Levis is a top 10 pick based on athletic profile and ability, Anthony Richardson should be a top 3 pick overall.
We have a few people in chat saying that they think Richardson over last season was better than Levis. So
Tony's saying that.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, Tony's saying that. Will Levis over Anthony Richardson is crazy. Richardson has more potential and probably played better this year too.
Yeah, he definitely played better, and it's
Richardson played better than Levis.
Yeah, I think he did. Levis obviously, we could talk about why he didn't play well. He obviously had turf toe for the majority of the year, and if you watch that offense, it's the same excuses that people are making for like Justin Herbert right now, in that there's really no options for him. So it's going to look better overnight. I do think he's more NFL ready, Will Levis, and the things he does are much more NFL ready. Is why he's getting this kind of hype, is because he can operate an NFL offense. And sure, you can say the stats were bad, but it's like there's things he does from a pocket presence perspective that you're going to need to do that Anthony Richardson still has yet to iron out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What about your boy Michael Mayer going to the Houston Texans? So
I would hate this pick for the Texans, truthfully.
Quentin Johnston is on the board. Actually, every wide receiver is on the board. Yeah. We have not had a wide receiver go off yet, and obviously Michael Mayer is a receiving weapon, but you wouldn't be making this pick. You go wide receiver instead? Probably.
Yeah, I love Michael Mayer. Don't get me wrong. He's just very, like I said, limited in the impact he can make. He's a slow-ish by high-end tight end standards in the NFL. Chain mover, good inline blocker that you know what you're getting. He's one of the safer picks in the draft because of that. But then he's also one of the lower ceiling picks that's come off the board here because of that. So on the Texans, yeah, maybe you can do it, chalk up a W, but you just got Bryce Young. I say pair him with a guy that goes the next guy off the board, Quentin Johnston, and try to create some magic the way, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Like try to create that 1-2 punch that's going to lead you to a high-end offense for the next decade plus. That's what I'm trying to do if I'm the Houston Texans, is try to take that swing because you're so far behind. Like one Michael Mayer is doing very little for you in the short term.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And one pick later, the Jacksonville Jaguars getting Quentin Johnston. That would set up Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Quentin Johnston. That'd be fun. That'd be very fun for the Jacksonville Jaguars, for them to have that kind of receiving core for Trevor Lawrence to throw to, especially with as confident as Trevor Lawrence is playing this season. So I like that a lot. Last one I'll ask you about this group of prospects before we get to the chat. Green Bay Packers getting Myles Murphy at number 14.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll take it.
Could deal with it.
Oh, we'll take it.
Yeah, I feel like
him and Sean Gary across from each other is a.
I was going to say
duo.
him is this just like big-bodied edge player. It feels like that's what Green Bay likes to do with their guys being so versatile. Like you got to be almost kind of like rare athletes, and it feels like Miles Murphy is with how athletic he is at his size.
Yeah. I mean, it might take him a few years, like it did with Sean Gary, but the track record of guys that are that freaky is better than track record of guys who aren't.
Walt says don't see the Raiders drafting Tyree Wilson at number 8. Number 8 is pretty high for Tyree Wilson. I think it's pretty high.
He's a unique dude.
But I know a lot of people really like Tyree Wilson.
We'd love to get him to learn from Chandler Jones, too. If Chandler Jones come back, may not, because obviously he's been playing meh for the contract he got. But similarly tooled edge defenders, him and Chandler Jones, if you can learn from them, that would be ideal.
Yeah, Quell is saying that Quentin Johnston in the Jags room all of a sudden makes it full of dudes for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball to. Ooh, Trevor Joseph says Bryce Young's most ideal pairing is actually Jordan Addison, not a Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, I can see that. Separator.
Yeah, I like that too.
Just hitting some chat stuff. A lot of them agreed with you guys. They hated the Myers pick. They did like the Murphy pick. They think that's a great pick, but they don't really think he will go. He won't fall.
I agree.
Yeah, I think 14's a little low. I don't love Murphy as this top 5 pick that I've seen some people put him as.
I mean, he's very similar to like a Trayvon Walker.
He is. I just watched a lot of his regular season tape yesterday, and I'm like, they're gonna treat this guy like Trayvon Walker.
Yeah.
Now Walker was a little bit bigger, a little bit more athletic, right? And so I think that just kind of takes him to a rare position, but I don't know how many people would have been picking number 1 overall and would have been picking Trayvon Walker anyways. So we sit here and we go, oh, Trayvon Walker went number 1.
True.
How many non-Trent Baalke people are taking Trayvon number 1? I don't think it's more than half the league. So that's why I would say be careful when we get in those Trayvon Walker comparisons and you go, well, Walker went number 1 overall. I don't think half the teams in the NFL would have taken Walker at number 1 overall.
Agreed.
So that's just something to remember as we're kind of talking about that stuff too. So, all right, what's the next 8? What do we got? 17 through 24? Math, right? Math. I think that's it. Who starts this one off? Draft order? Oh, the Jets. Osiris Torrance.
Interesting.
To the Jets?
That one doesn't quite.
A little top 10? Or top 20 for Osiris Torrance?
And it doesn't quite. This is one of those where
which one doesn't line up?
Osiris Torrance, they have Laken Tomlinson, they have AVT.
Oh, so you're just saying roster-wise, not like stock-wise for.
Yeah. Now maybe they want to move Elijah Vera Tucker to tackle. I could see that. I mean, I think he can play right tackle very well, and did in a pinch. So maybe that's in your long-term plans. But Osiris Torrance is firmly a guard. He's not playing anywhere else. Laken Tomlinson firmly a guard. So if you are drafting Osiris Torrance, he's either a backup or you're playing Elijah Vera Tucker at tackle, coming off injury. So I guess I don't hate it. I guess just if I'm the Jets, I'm probably looking maybe elsewhere. But good player, damn good player.
All right, I'm a fan of getting your best 5 out there. You know, I didn't really think about this, so this is kind of right off the top of my head seeing Osiris Torrance to the New York Jets. I haven't really thought about the Jets investing in an interior offensive line. I don't hate the fact that you can kick Elijah Vera Tucker out to tackle, depending on what happens with Mekhi Becton. So maybe that is something. Are the Jets going to think that they're going to get burned again by another like supersized offensive lineman with health? I don't think they. I mean, it's not like Torrance has been hurt. It's not like he's been beat up. But I wonder if the Jets are going to feel a little scorned about it.
347 Osiris Torrance, 360 plus Mekhi Becton. Those are big boys on the left side. The next pick though, Seattle. Another one where Brian Branch, I guess you could just keep him as a slot, but you got 2 safeties, and Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs going back to the safety well. Not sure I'd go there.
Yeah.
I'd probably just keep hammering D-line if I'm the Seattle Seahawks at this point.
Branch would play slot.
Or if Keely Ringo's on the board, I'm going Keely Ringo.
Yeah, Ringo's at 21. This is the lowest that I've seen Ringo. This is the lowest that I've seen Ringo here. And again, like I want to reiterate to everybody, it's one mock draft, and it's McShay's first mock draft that he's doing here. So mocks are going to be a little bit all over the place. You're trying to find fits for certain teams, what they're going to need. You're trying to line things up a little bit. So Ringo, in all likelihood, probably going a little bit higher here than number 21 overall. But shoot, Washington would love him. They need a good corner. So
yeah.
Same thing with Christian Gonzalez, corner going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if.
What's their plan? What are they going to do with Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy-Bunting this offseason?
Sean Murphy-Bunting's probably gone. Jamel Dean's playing really well, so I would find it hard to believe that they're just going to let Dean walk. They just signed Carlton Davis last year to a long-term contract. So for as much as I think this pick's more of like in theory they could lose Jamel Dean, and if they do lose Jamel Dean, then you're getting a first-round corner on a rookie contract, could potentially help with salary cap stuff. So I do get that logic of it. That part makes sense if they lose Dean. I'm just not so sure they're going to lose Dean. So I think they probably look a different direction. I wonder if the Bucs are going to be one of the teams that are in the back half of the first round that might get aggressive to go get up for one of those quarterbacks.
Anthony Richardson.
Depending on what happens, right? Jason Light's somebody who doesn't typically trade super far up, especially at the top of the draft, because he knows that costs a lot of draft picks. And Jason Light came up the ladder through the draft. He loves the draft. He doesn't like trading away picks. He likes to make them. He likes the whole scouting process. But it might call for it this year. So the Bucs are a sneaky team, depending on what happens with Tom Brady, for a team that might be moving way up the board.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of chat is split on the Bucs. A lot of people said they need quarterback. People say they need everything. A lot of people are saying tank for next year. So the Bucs are one where I think everybody is all over the board.
Caleb Williams, you are a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
He's going to be a Los Angeles Ram.
The last one, don't do that to me. The last one I'll say about this 8 is Denver Broncos, Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, obviously, the run game is tough.
I guess they're
for Denver right now.
Yeah.
But Javonte hopefully coming back next year. If you add Jahmyr Gibbs to that as well, ain't no excuses in the backfield at all whatsoever. Those two, I mean, like that is a smash and dash for the ages in the NFL, it feels like. But to spend a first-round pick on it feels a little bit rich.
I tend to agree, especially with this Broncos roster. The other ones I find interesting here, though, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ohio State wide receiver going to Tennessee Titans. Now, maybe I'm just higher on Kyle Phillips, but Kyle Phillips himself has had hamstring issues this season while he's been on IR, but they're the same wide receiver, or same type of wide receiver. You're not really getting complementary skill sets there. So if you're drafting Jackson Smith and Jigba, you're kind of cutting off Kyle Phillips' path to the football field when he was encouraging in preseason week 1 before he did, obviously, start having hamstring issues.
We're picking and choosing ones that we might change because it's good conversations, but I will say New York Giants getting themselves Jordan Addison.
Slam dunk.
That's big. That is truly a Dwayne Wade over the shoulder to LeBron James slam dunk. I agree with you. That is a huge pick for them to make. That is a number 1 need. If you ask me, for the New York Giants, you have to get a wide receiver that you can go to at different points of drives, of games, of everything. You got to get a guy in the passing game that you can lean on. So Jordan Addison, love that pick there for them. And I think the Cam Smith pick at 23 to the Chargers is very interesting, right? You signed J.C. Jackson. Sure, you'd like for him to play better when he comes back next year from injury. But will he? Can you take that chance? You get a guy like Cam Smith in there, all of a sudden, cornerback room could look good even without J.C. Jackson playing well. And then if J.C. Jackson comes back to play well, then you got him, you got Asante Samuel Jr., you got Cam Smith. That's a really good unit.
A lot of people from chat were saying Cam Smith is a steal, but then there were a huge number of people in chat that's saying that they need weapons for the Chargers. But it looks like some of the top receivers are off the board at this point.
Right. And I would agree with that exact assessment of kind of where we are in the mock draft there. Last eight for this mock draft. Start things off with the Baltimore Ravens at number 25, going cornerback Clark Phillips. I know a lot of people love Clark Phillips, and then right after that, Cincinnati Bengals getting Devon Witherspoon. So we're going back-to-back cornerbacks there. Got thoughts on either of those guys?
I do think it fits both their strategies, right? The Ravens have always, or not always, I guess past half decade, been very willing to invest in their secondary, even if, the path to the field for Clark Phillips right now, it would seem there is none. And they drafted Kyle Hamilton with the same thing in mind. Like, there really wasn't a path to the football field. He wasn't starting early on in the season. Now, obviously, filled in as their slot corner and been fantastic there. So if you're drafting Clark Phillips, you may not see the field year 1, but the Baltimore Ravens are completely happy to do that because they know depth is the key in secondary. Same with Cincinnati Bengals in their draft last year. You go safety first round, or a guy who can play slot, but also as a safety in Daxton Hill. Second round, Cam Taylor-Britt. Knowing that we're going to be around for a while. We're going to be contenders in the AFC for a while here with Joe Burrow. How do you go through a gauntlet that's going to feature Josh Allen, maybe Justin Herbert, maybe Patrick Mahomes for the next decade? have a good-ass secondary. And so I will not complain about any team in the AFC loading up on guys in their defensive back seven because you're going to have it. You just have to have it to run through the AFC playoffs nowadays.
It's an acronym, folks. GAS. Be all about gas. Good-ass secondary.
Yes. I have gas right now.
Come on.
Walt loves that pick for the Bengals. He said, that's my boy from U of I.
Dude, Devon Witherspoon's awesome. And back-to-back years where you get Dax Hill and you get Devon Witherspoon, those are two really nice secondary pieces. A lot of talent in those two dudes moving forward for the Cincinnati Bengals. I agree with you completely. When you know you're going to be in shootouts, go get corners that can line up against teams that are going to go 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver deep. And so, love that. Completely agree with you there. The steal of this draft, the steal of this mock draft, without question.
I know where you're going.
Is pick number 30.
Yep.
Without question. Jared Verse is the man. I just ended up watching a lot of Jared Verse last night as I'm kind of going through and finishing up a lot of regular season edge rush ranking stuff, updating a lot of my notes. I love Jared Verse, man. Jared Verse might end up as a top 10 player overall for me. I think that he's fantastic. I think he brings it all. They use him as a 2-point and 3-point rusher. I like him a lot more when he's got his hand in the dirt because when he does, that power that he gets off the ball with is so imposing. So imposing. Dealt with a knee injury in the middle of the season. I think it's something that bothered him. He was wearing a brace most of the season after that, and I think it's something that really bothered him more than they were letting on as the year went on because you could kind of see it really, not so much the second the ball was snapped, but, that motor of him continuing to work and being able to work. He didn't have that as much as he did at the very beginning of the year, which kind of tells me that he might have really been dealing with some pain with that knee. But him going number 30 overall. If the Chiefs got George Karlaftis last year and Jared Verse the year after that.
You would love that.
I mean, they could not be happier. I think Verse is a top 15 player. He's going a lot higher than this. But if this ended up happening, to me, steal of the draft.
A couple guys I want to touch on here. Zay Flowers, Boston College wide receiver. This one feels like, I don't know if you do this in your mock drafts, but one pick where you throw in at the end that is not going to happen. But you basically just want to say, I like this guy more than maybe the rest of the people. Because he's a 5'10", 172-pound senior wide receiver, going to be a 23-year-old rookie. And he's not like a 5'10", 172 like a Jalen Waddle, 5'10", 172. Now, heck of an athlete. I love Zay Flowers too. I would love to draft him somewhere in the second round, somewhere like picks 50 to 60. I would run in that card. I think he's extremely talented in a role, but he's just not the kind of all-around receiver that you usually see go in the first round. Other one, Isaiah Foskey, defensive end Notre Dame. I don't think he's going in the first round anymore. I don't think his tape was good enough this past season to warrant that. Really did not take much of a next step, and actually from a grading perspective, graded out worse this year than he did a year ago, and was always kind of a project with his physical tools. So I could see him slipping out.
Did he break the Notre Dame record?
For sacks?
Yeah, because he was close to it. With Justin Tuck, he was close to it. Like, it was realistic for him to get it this year. I can't remember if you wanted to look it up or not, but I agree with you. I think Foskey probably slips a little bit. I will say this about Zay Flowers though. Zay Flowers, there's not been a lot of talk about him. I think because we're trying to figure out what the order of this wide receiver position is going to be. Zay's a guy who can win from the slot, but he can win from the outside as well. He was one of the first players that I saw on the Shrine Bowl's acceptance list, and I went, oh boy, he's going to show out at the Shrine Bowl. I think that when we get to All-Star Week, Zay Flowers' stock is going to rise just because of the kind of performance that I think that he's going to put on in practice in the game. So I agree with you. I don't know if he's going to be somebody who makes the back end of the first round, but one of those coveted players when day 2 starts. When day 1's over with and we're, everybody's watching the PFF draft show and they're like, hey, who are some guys who are still left on the board that you like? I could see us talking about Zay Flowers if he's not selected, which I think is more likely than not. All right, there we go. That is Todd McShay's first round. Let us know what you guys' favorite picks was from it. We would love to hear it. Mike and I are also about to give our players that weren't in the first round mock from McShay that we think could potentially sneak into the first round, names that we liked that didn't quite make that list. So as you guys let us know what your favorite picks were, Mike, who is a player that was not in McShay's first round do you think he's got a good chance to be in his final first-round mock when it's all said and done?
It's Nolan Smith, to me, the Georgia edge defender.
You like him
he was one of the first final evals I did this year because obviously he tore his pec, I believe, in November against Florida. But, man, former number 1 overall recruit, and you see it on tape again and again. Why? 6'3", 235. He's kind of a poor man's Will Anderson in a lot of ways, where he's just a touch shorter, a touch lighter, maybe a touch less explosive, but
lot of touch
plays
going
with
on.
the same, but is a similarly tooled explosive athlete who plays a lot bigger than the weight would suggest. Like, he is strong in the running game. 90.0 overall grade, over 90.0 the last 2 seasons. And then this year, 19 pressures on 104 pass rushing snaps. And in that Georgia scheme, same things we said with a lot of the guys coming out last year, where it's not really, it's run first reads. He's not getting to pin his ears back the way, say, Ohio State edge rushers usually get to do. I think his best football is still in front of him. And I think at that size, he's not just a DPR. He's not just a third down guy. He is an every down defensive end still.
Yeah, that's the big question mark. I think that's the varying degree. Is a lot of people are going to look at Nolan Smith, and I don't think anybody's going to argue how athletic he is. It's just does this guy have enough density to him, really, to be a full-time edge player? But you think he does.
And the more we go to quarterbacks who are option threats, so what we broke down on the board yesterday with Jalen Hurts, the more you have to defend the quarterback running game, the more your edges have to be athletes. They have to be able to track down Jalen Hurts in space. They have to be able to track down Anthony Richardson in space. Nolan Smith did that again and again on tape at Georgia. A lot of these guys we're seeing in this class, guys like Isaiah Foskey that we just said who he has going ahead of him, are not the guys that can track down these quarterbacks in space. They are going to get optioned off of at the next level and could be liabilities when that's the case.
A couple early guys that people are putting in the chat that didn't make the first round. Meta's saying Tanner McKee. Cole is saying Jalen Hyatt. He wasn't in there. Jason's saying Riley Moss. Burning Ham saying Hendon Hooker. Very curious to see what Hendon Hooker's stock is going to be like as we kind of get into this thing, especially with him suffering that ACL injury. Tony saying Gervin Dexter, who did not make the first round. I'll stick along the defensive line for my first guy. I'm going to go with Siaki Ika. I think Siaki Ika is a guy who really does have a good shot to go in the first round because he is a unique player. This is a Baylor interior defensive lineman, built like a nose tackle, but moves like a 3-tech. And I think that kind of rare combination is something that teams are really going to gravitate towards. 6'4", 355 pounds. He's got 13 solo stops this year, 18 total pressures, 85.7 pass rush grade a season ago, and then 6 sacks a season ago as well. So he's got the production. He didn't have as much pass rush production this year as he did last year, but to me that's okay. I think when you pop on the film, you're still seeing a guy that really knows how to get off the ball, understands how to counter, loves the swim move, loves the spin move, just loves to really get around. And you don't see a lot of interior defensive linemen move with the fluidity at his size that he can. And anytime that's the case, NFL loves to covet those bigger guys that can move really well. So I think he's got a shot.
Yeah, uniqueness. The draft isn't always about who's the best player, who's going to provide the most value. Sometimes uniqueness plays a role, and the guys whose skill set can't be replicated often go in the first round because of that. Ika, obviously, at his size, not a lot of dudes replicating what he brings to the table.
Speaking of uniquely sized players, what do you think about Darnell Washington being a top 50 guy? Do you think there's any chance?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Because he's that big?
Yes.
I do too.
I think he will end up as a top 50 draft pick.
I do
because certain schemes want a guy who can inline block like an offensive tackle and, just do a few things as a receiver.
Yeah.
He's not going to get open on his own too much. But at top speed, he
will if you literally just throw the ball up.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like at top speed, he can cook a little, and his catch radius is unlike anything I've seen. Like, he is a true freak in his builds. Just pops off the tape. I'm very excited to see what his wingspan ends up being because it's going to be over 7 feet. It's out of this world.
Monster. Who you got next? Who's another guy you can
Next, I'm going to actually go to tight end, and it's the guy I have as tight end 2 in the tight end rankings that you can find at pff.com today. It's Luke Musgrave, Oregon State tight end. He was 27th on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. Reportedly ran a 4.51 with a 36.5-inch vertical at 6'6", 250.
Nice.
And if you look at the genesis of elite receiving tight ends in the NFL, whether it's Travis Kelce, whether it's George Kittle, whether it's Darren Waller, those guys run in the low 4.5s. They get open and move like wide receivers. That's what it takes to make that kind of impact at the tight end position that's willing for me to draft a guy in the first round. So Luke Musgrave, you flip on the tape, he is the most athletic tight end in the draft class. He just moves like a wide receiver would at that size. Now, undisclosed knee injury after 2 games. It wasn't an ACL or anything serious that was keeping him out because it was, every week they'd be like, has he come back this week? No, he didn't get to come back this week. So only played 2 games, but in those 2 games, man, 169 yards, touchdown, 11 catches. He's he's that guy that is going to look better at the NFL level, or has a good chance of looking better at the NFL level than he ever did in college.
All right, my next guy I want to go to, I'll go along the defensive line. Walt's been shouting out some of the edge rushers, saying it's a deep edge rush clash. I'm going to go Will McDonald IV, the edge rusher from Iowa State. 6'3", 235 pounds, built similarly to that of Nolan Smith, and where I think that Nolan Smith's probably got a better chance to be a round one guy. I do like McDonald. I really do. 84.1 pass rush grade, 24 total pressures this year, and 6 sacks. When they let this dude really pin his ears back and get after the passer, he's got some explosiveness. He's got some speed, and I like that about him. So I feel like the NFL is going to look at this guy and go, like the build, like the length, because he feels like he's got longer limbs to him, too. He looks like he's got those long arms that could be very effective in the pass rush. He knows how to hit a nasty little swim move to hit with an inside counter. I like that he already understands that. And so I don't see a ton of Will McDonald love in the first round, but he is somebody who I am intrigued about just because of his build and his overall athletic ability.
And also, he played a role at Iowa State that's just beyond not conducive to his skill set. He's played 5-tech.
Yeah.
He's head up over tackles. That's Iowa State scheme, but I believe he's a Senior Bowl guy. Senior Bowl is huge for him. What he does one-on-one there, he could put himself in that first-round conversation very easily with the good performance there. My last one.
Yeah, last one. Who you got?
I don't believe Todd McShay had an off-ball linebacker in the first round. That's a rarity, even if the position is getting devalued. I do think Trenton Simpson's the guy, the Clemson linebacker, that based off of traits alone, if you just look back at the first-round linebackers recent years, whether it's guys like Kenneth Murray, whether it's guys like Jamin Davis, and now obviously I'm not naming success stories, but when you are that freaky of an athlete as an off-ball linebacker, you go in the first round. Someone's going to take that chance. So I do think Trenton Simpson, 6'3", 230, runs in the high 4.3s reportedly, and on tape it looks like he runs in the high 4.3s. I mean, he is a true, smooth, easy mover at that size that even if he's still work in progress as a true off-ball between the tackles linebacker as he finally started playing more this year, I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet in the first round.
Chat completely loved this. There was like 4 or 5 people who immediately, as I asked the question, who could sneak into the first, he was a guy that 5 people said almost immediately.
Yeah, just athlete alone. You figure that he's probably getting in there just because he's going to be one of the more top-tier athletes for the position. Uncle Dusty said Dalton Kincaid, Jalen Jones, and Chase Brown are my dogs from this draft class that will get slept on. Mark it down.
Love Dalton Kincaid. Tight end 3 in the PFF draft. He's just old. Just a little old, just a little undersized, but he is good.
Nathan asked this one. He said, where do y'all stand on Josh Downs versus Jalen Hyatt? 2 very different receivers.
Josh Downs, not even close in my opinion.
They're so different. I gotta sit down and really watch these wide receivers, but it's hard for me to say one or the other because Jalen Hyatt is a pure vertical speed wide receiver, and Josh Downs is where he played a little bit more outside this year. Like, he's going to play in the slot in the NFL. He's going to be a quick hit, yards after the catch, short area quickness guy. These are 2, to me, totally different skill set players. So you say Josh Downs?
I say
sounds
Josh
like you
Downs.
like Josh. Okay, you like Josh Downs a lot. The last guy that I want to shout out, speaking of Tennessee Volunteers, Byron Young, the edge rusher from Tennessee. I'm very intrigued by him. I don't know if he ends up making it in the first round, but 6'3", 245 pounds. So he's got the edge rusher build that you like. 31 pressures through the first 7 weeks of the season. Now, it dropped off a little bit after that, but those first 7 weeks were hot. Mike, if for anybody out there that doesn't know his backstory, he started playing football, it was 3 years ago, because he saw a flyer for tryouts while he was working at Dollar General at Georgia Military Academy. He goes on to Georgia Military Academy, started 1 season there, and became the number 10 overall JUCO player in the country. The reason? Dude's an athlete. He's twitched up, man. The second that ball gets snapped, he is flying off the line of scrimmage. Now, he doesn't totally know what to do after that. He's still trying to figure it out. He's still a little bit too much of an athlete and not enough of a pass rusher. But we've said it so many times here on this show, so many other shows, you covet athletes. You look at these guys and you say, man, this guy's got this much figured out in just 3 years of playing the game. I can work with that. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that feel like they can work with that. It feels like he's going to be more of a day 2 guy than a round 1 guy. But because of how twitchy he is, I wonder if there's a chance that he could sneak in there. So maybe more of a shout out than an actual call for round 1, but I like him.
Yeah, he's this year's kind of outlier where it's like, yeah, you could say that he's 25, but he's 25 because he hasn't played football.
Right.
Like he's this age and this unique story because he really hasn't played the game. So it's one of those where, it's hard to say that's really a first rounder. If I get, you only get one first round pick. Most teams do. But if you only get one first round pick, drafting a guy like that who's just a complete wild card of a projection, maybe a little too rich. But I'd love to have this guy somewhere on day 2 just because he is that freaky and is that unique of a prospect that what he could be is really anybody's guess.
Do you know Tyler Adams from Butler? Does that name mean anything to you? Because somebody said it in the chat. Aaron said, because we're shouting out players that could go round 1, and Aaron said, Tyler Adams from Butler. Dude sucks, but hey, why not? I don't think that's the point of what we were doing. But I guess shout out Tyler Adams. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. All right. Appreciate everybody getting in on the chat, letting us know who you like from McShay's mock draft, as well as some guys who didn't quite make it. Before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about some early lines and some locks of the week for week 15 in the NFL. Mike, when you look at this upcoming slate of games, what's some bets that you like? What's the bet that you like the most?
I got the Bengals going to the Bucs.
Oh, here we go.
Under 44. The unders
Bengals winning 44
have been fruitful this year.
Oh, wow. 44-0.
Bengals defense playing at a very high level. But the Bucs defense no slouch themselves. So I'm going to go under 44.
PFF Green Line gives this an F.
Yeah.
They say the overs hitting. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
Model ain't watched no Bucks. Model ain't watched Byron Leftwich dial it up this year.
No, they're coming back. They read the tweets. They're going to run play action on every single play. Okay? They're going to run tempo play action to double the multiplier. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's just going to treat every single drive as if it's 90 seconds or less to cross the end zone. And they're just going to light up the scoreboard, and it's going to be a big win. I'm sorry, Quinn. I'm sorry to tell you. That's what happened. All right. He doesn't even have anything.
I'm just back here shaking my head. I was a little late to hit the booth button, but sure. Put that on bro throw.
Oh boy. All right. That might be. We might have to have a little bro throw bet at the end of the week. My lock of the week: the Jacksonville Jaguars are hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Jags are getting 4.5. I like it.
They got the right quarterback.
PFF Green Line doesn't like this one either. I don't know what to tell you.
Modeling watch Trevor of late. Modeling watch Trevor.
Those are a couple of locks of the week. Before we get out of here, let's get an answer to the question of the day. How many active quarterbacks in the NFL have played in a Super Bowl, not counting guys that have either played gadget snaps?
Caught at least every Super Bowl back through Colin Kaepernick not in the league. Cam Newton not in the league. 2012? Or was that the Kaepernick?
No, Kaepernick was 13. 13 to 14, I think.
No, 13-14 was Seahawks, right? Yeah.
I might be
12 was Kaepernick, 13
it's the Seahawks year, the Harbaugh Bowl, and then Cam, I think, was just boom, boom, boom. I think we got it.
No, there was the Seahawks, the whatchamacallit, the Malcolm Butler play in that. 2014 was Malcolm Butler. 2013 was Seahawks Broncos.
No, the Malcolm Butler play was after that.
No, 14 was Malcolm Butler. 15 was Cam Newton versus Peyton. 13 was Russ versus Peyton. 12 was Flacco versus Cap. 11 was Eli versus Brady. 10 was Rodgers, Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Breeze versus
You're thinking too hard.
Peyton. So I think it's 11.
We think it's 11. We're going with 11.
It is, in fact, 11.
Let's go on the dot. We love to see that.
2 of them playing this weekend.
Ooh.
What do you know?
Fantastic. There we go. Before we get out of here, Walt asked you doing leg of lamb or turkey for Christmas? You're going to be sick of turkey by the
I'm going to be my parents. Mm-hmm. We were going to do ham. Or possibly a rib roast, prime rib roast. I'm pushing more towards the rib roast.
Yeah, you got to go with the rib roast. Always got to go. If it's like something else or ham, you typically are going to push for the other one.
I still have about somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 pounds of the last turkey in my fridge.
You're a freak.
And then it's over. The run of turkey has commenced.
Yeah,
or ceased.
until the next time that we go to Costco.
Until, if they still got turkeys, your boy's going to buy one.
Who is the chat champ for today? Do we have a chat champ?
Dugan von Vlack. He was the first person, fifth guess. He got it right. The Super Bowl quarterback. So
Wow.
we know for a fact he didn't guess. Oh, he didn't look it up and got it right on the money.
Dugan. What an also DVF.
Great
what a
name.
Phenomenal name. Chat champ. Well done,
All-timer.
Dugan. Way to get it on the dot.
Honorable mention too. There was a guy in the chat right when we first started.
Yeah.
So it was either Aaron or Andrew that just said he's smashing Tall Boy Bud Lights because he just got done with his exams for college.
Love it.
So thank you and congrats.
I was gonna say,
As you should.
it might be a little bit of degenerate behavior to do so at 11 a.m. Eastern
Nope.
time, but
Not if you just finished exams.
if you just finished exam,
It's the weekend.
crack another one open for us here on the desk. Thank you guys so much for watching. Shout out to Todd McShay. Like I said, if you guys haven't read his mock draft over at ESPN.com, go sign up for his subscription. Go check it out. He's got some great analysis there. We will see you guys tomorrow for trivia.
Get in the mix.
Gotta have it.
Get in the mix.
Gotta have it, Mike.
Yeah.
We're going to be more ready than ever. Chat took it last week. You're going down this week. You're absolutely going down. To quote White Goodman, you're going down like a sweet muffin. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Mike Renner. For everybody in the production portal, thank you guys so much for watching It's Just Football. See you right here tomorrow. See you guys then.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get it and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.